everyone. Welcome to Make It Big 2021. We're really excited to have you join myself and Vanessa. I am actually Rachel Garcia. I am a senior director here at BigCommerce in our marketing department. Really excited to have Vanessa Santos join us. Thank you, Vanessa, for helping share your thoughts and insights and your experience with our community.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'd love to talk a little bit about your background, and then for you to tell us a bit more, because you have so much experience and also work in the community that we want to make sure that we get to ask questions around today. So, starting off right now, you are the founder of Startup with Vanessa. It looks like an amazing business of life and business coaching, and loved your website just regarding tips regarding personal brand and stealing back time, which I will ask some questions about later in this interview. So really excited about that, but also your background in FinTech and, thinking through regarding how to grow innovation, how to reach more clients through through payment providers, marketplaces, just so much different technology, e-commerce, business, just so much information that we're excited for you to share with our community here. And just lastly, I'd like to just touch on your entrepreneurship, leadership work, especially with Women's Leadership Network. That just sounds really exciting, and just really, helping those individuals with great ideas be able to get their thoughts in a business proposal, an exciting, business proposition, and really being able to take off with their dreams. So can't wait to get started. So Vanessa, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the BigCommerce team. I'm a huge fan of the team, but most importantly, the platform, especially being a leader in being able to enable people to be able to sell across the world. I just think in today's age, anything that can help facilitate that, the sale of goods and commerces, and to help people also make money, because there's so much money to be made, is incredible. So I'm a huge fan, and so I'm very, very happy to be here.
Well, speaking about, selling more and expanding, would love to hear a little bit more about how your journey started with Latin America, with commerce, with technology, and we'd like to hear a little bit more about your journey.
Absolutely. So I like to say that I've been in the digital commerce space for over 16 years. Being Latina and being able to travel across Latin America at a very young age, I recognize that every time I go visit my friends or cousins in the Dominican Republic, in Ecuador, and in Mexico, people always wanted to know where I got this or how can they get it. And I recognized early on that there was a bit of a challenge in terms of getting things across the border. And so I've always been very interested in how do we facilitate that? There has to be a better way other than me lugging, 5-6 suitcases of things to bring to friends and family. And early on, I worked with different retailers when I started to understand the importance of digital economy to help bring certain products and goods so that it can be sold all across different markets. And now we have the beautiful benefit of having companies such as BigCommerce that facilitates that on a whole nother level. And then with my work at MasterCard, I had the privilege of leading the Latin American team in digital innovation, which meant that we really focused on how do we reduce the barriers? How do we open up the border so that you can sell cross countries, cross markets, and enable people to be able to sell the goods and services and do the things that they love through online selling.
Great. Well, I'd love for you to share some of your thoughts and just give everybody some more insight about things that they need to know regarding expanding into Latin America, or if there are businesses within Latin America being able to expand across the region as well. So, what are some of those, e-commerce tips, some business trends that, different businesses really need to understand about how to be successful in the region?
Absolutely happy to share that. I have tons of statistics. The first I'd like to start with, Latin America is an incredibly fluid digital economy. It has proven itself to be a must-have in order to stay in business, to be honest with you. The Latin American population has doubled in terms of mobile penetration usage, in terms of being banked, which means that there is this expectation that if something is sold in the United States or in Europe, that you can also get it in Latin America. The pandemic as well brought about a different shift in how people's consumers' behavior. So gaming saw a huge uptick, streaming, retail. And as young people also looking to social media to help influence those purchase behaviors. So now selling across Latin America isn't a nice to have, it is a must have. And businesses should really consider shifting, whether it's platform services, whether it's partnerships, whether it's ad dollars to these markets, because there's a huge, huge penetration of consumers that are willing and ready to spend their money.
Those are phenomenal stats, and agreed regarding what we saw with the pandemic. It's just so interesting how our expectations as consumers have changed, right? And just how quickly do we receive products? How accessible? How can we find them? Very specific on what we're looking for and what type of engagement we want with these different brands and these different businesses. And so, agreed that the pandemic has really challenged us all in very different ways, and online purchasing and online relationships as it comes with the consumers and the businesses has changed completely. So I think what's really interesting with that, now can we dive a little bit more into what consumers are expecting within Latin America? So would love to hear a little bit more about what are some of their expectations, what are they looking for, and what do businesses need to keep in mind as they're building these business consumer relationships with the region.
Sure, absolutely. So if we think about it quantitative first, there are about 265 million digital buyers across Latin America, and that is going to continue to grow at a rate of 30%, which means that there is a huge opportunity to sell your goods and services to a very diverse population. And the expectation now has become that if I see something on my mobile device, if I see something on social media, if I see something in a commercial, an advertisement, I want to be able to get it. So then from a qualitative perspective, from an experiential point of view, they want it to feel contextual. Consumers want to feel like they're being spoken to. They want to feel like they're being understood and recognized. So it can be as simple as, for example, in a lot of retailers that I see, and I'm quite surprised this happens, there's two things that I'm noticing. One is in the shipping information. Sometimes it only allows for 2 lines. When you have to think about it, certain parts of Latin America, they're a bit more rural and they require a bit more information in detail because there's subsidies and there are other areas that are much harder to get to. And if you don't allow for that simple extra line of space for the consumer to be able to put the exact details of where they live, you have a missed opportunity of being able to get that product to the consumer. The second bit that I'm noticing as well is the Latin American consumer, while they are incredibly diverse, they want to feel like you're speaking to them. So slapping an advertisement that it was clearly made for the American audience and then just putting an audio in Spanish is not going to cut it anymore. A lot of brands are becoming incredibly savvy and they're understanding their consumer and they're understanding the diversity that is the Latin American population. You have, the top 5, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Colombia, and then Chile and Peru actually, so the top 6 of markets that have a demand of people that want to be able to buy the latest silk pajamas, the latest sneakers that are being dropped. There's this huge demand for plants. I don't know if you have a green thumb. I certainly do not. I can tell from your background, you do a really good job of keeping your plants alive. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can tell, mine are fake because I just can't keep them alive. But there is this really huge resurgence of being able to live this sort of Pinterest aesthetic lifestyle and bringing it into their home. But the only way that's going to happen is if I feel like I connect with this consumer, if I feel like I connect with this retailer, if this retailer is speaking my language and in my context. So if I'm on TikTok, if I'm on social media, I want to be able to quickly, with just a few clicks, be able to purchase what I want in a seamless way and get it in my house delivered no more than 2 weeks. I'm noticing that there's this, this shipping and fulfillment issue, which thankfully you have BigCommerce that helps solve for that. But the days of waiting 30 days for something to get to your house is unfortunately something that consumers today and age are just not going to accept anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a great point regarding those types of expectations, especially if you see something on social or, back to your point about new sneakers that drop. You want to wear those right away. You want to be able to, show those off. And so those expectations, right, of having that come to your door is just spot on. I think, I'd like to you made some comments regarding the Big Six, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about just how unique all the different countries are. A lot of global businesses tend to clump Latin America all together, yet there's so much uniqueness in every country, and every country has different regions. When you think about Brazil especially, each region is so very different. And so what's some of your advice regarding how to have think through strategy and plan that's a little bit more specific, either by country, by region, to be a little bit more authentic.
Absolutely. I would say it can be as simple as just your local payment schemes. There's tons of local popular payment methods in addition to credit debit cards. For example, Brazil has boleto. And so it's really challenging when you have these closed loop act as cash systems that merchants really try to understand the differences between them. In the Brazilian market, you have Hypercard, which is a very popular local credit card. Itaú also offers real bank transfer methods. And then working with the likes of BigCommerce allows these merchants to understand the nuances of all these different markets, the tax, the implications, the tariffs, the customs borders, the types of payment methods, and then the currency conversion is also very important because, to your point, many people tend to say just Latin America and clump them all together, but the reality is that the currency in itself is incredibly distinct in each of these markets. And so knowing that, one, cash is still popular in Latin America, especially in countries where a high proportion are still unbanked, it's very important that you cater to this audience through proper affiliations and associations, that you allow them to pay offline if they need to in a more rural areas, allow them to pay online and then pick up in order to avoid that long lag in the shipping. So I think it comes down to doing a little bit of extra due diligence and research, connecting yourselves with local experts such as the folks at BigCommerce. Clearly, their partnership with Mercado Libre, with Meli, will now allow them to kind of expand their borders, and understanding those nuances will be very key in whether or not these retailers will succeed or not succeed in certain markets, especially in these top six. We are talking about top six, but yet these top six are so distinct in terms of the taxes, in terms of regulations, in terms of payment schemes and mechanisms, and then also in terms of the diversity of the community and how they speak, and even the types of language, the Spanish that's being used, right? And so those little intricacies is what's going to help and allow these merchants to succeed in these markets.
Yeah, your comments, thank you very much. Your comments too about payments and some of the challenges, right? I think it's really interesting, back to your point about this online, offline, online that also exists in Latin America, that a lot of global businesses don't understand. And so with that, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about challenges. I know that's, being able to actually collect money, and it's not e-commerce if you can't pay online. So if you could talk a little bit about some of those challenges a bit more, so businesses can understand what are some of those gotchas that I really need to look out for.
So I would start, there's tons, right? It's a fluid landscape. It is a landscape that consistently evolves. And so it's one of those things that you kind of had to stay on the pulse of what's happening. One of the challenges that I notice is with drop shipping and fulfillment and being able to get the actual goods to your consumer in a timely manner. But then on a deeper click on that is that it actually looks as portrayed, right? Drop shipping, and I would say the influence of social media has really expanded drop shipping. So me sitting here in California, I can virtually sell anywhere in the world, but I don't have to physically hold the goods in hand, and I also don't have to take the photography of those products. And so something that I'm seeing that has become a challenge, that has also risen in social media, that I'm seeing people call out retailers, is your product doesn't look as described. Your product is not as pictured, and that's really going to hurt a lot of more of the small and medium that are trying to compete with the larger retailers in order to help facilitate that. So if you're going to portray something, please be sure that, one, it looks like it, and two, at least work with a fulfillment partner. I know that BigCommerce has a ton list of dropship and fulfillment partners to ensure that it gets there in a timely manner. But I would start kind of a double click on making sure at least that the product looks as described, and I would say that's one of them. The second challenge goes back to the currencies and their own taxation and customs authorities. They have their own postal systems as well. So, and a lot of those postal systems are unreliable. So you want to make sure that you work with experts that can help handle that last mile in delivering and getting that full end-to-end consumer experience. Then I was also say product offering as a challenge, because although Latin Americans are very excited about being able to get products that are widely available, they also have a deep passion for getting niche products, hard to get items that are not easy to get. So how do you then become that retailer in the space to help get these products into the hands of consumers? That's something that I would say vendors should really take note of, on how do they work and partner with certain retailers to get those hard to get items across the border. And then finally, in terms of challenge, I would also say not to, and I know this is going to sound very odd, but don't overdo e-commerce technology. And what do I mean by that? Is utilize the technology to become better with providers like a BigCommerce to support you in getting your goods and services, but don't also overextend yourself by having so many third-party providers that without realizing it, that end-to-end journey could become disjointed. That's what's very critical and key, to partner with key players such as yourself that kind of handles the majority of that. So that, like me, for example, if I wanted to have a currency conversion, if I wanted to work with a fintech or a neobank, for example, because I know that so many in Latin America are still unbanked, but sometimes need that credit line to be able to make that purchase. If I were to do all of these things separately, that experience in all of those plugins, all those steps that the customer has to go to, they may not even make it to checkout, because they're going to be like, what? This is too disjointed. It takes too long. And in this era of instant gratification, we need to make it super simple and easy as possible. So that's why it's very important that when you think about the challenges, is think about what players can help resolve for so many of those, that you as a seller can just focus on getting your amazing product in the hands of the consumer.
Yeah, your comments are just so spot on regarding that experience and building that trust, right? Building that trust and having that connection, because back to your point, from an online perspective, people are looking for that credibility, they're looking for that ease of use, and they want to be able to feel confident that they can come back later and shop again also. Right? That's a big thing regarding repeat customers. Like, you want to have that, not only that first sale, but that loyalty and that repeat customer perspective.
And in the repeat customer perspective, there are two key items as well that I think are very important for retailers, especially expanding into Latin America, to build and develop that trust. One, there's loyalty, right? What kind of loyalty offering, what kind of points, what kind of reward system are you giving to your consumer to make them want to come back to you, to make them want to share what it is that they've experienced with you? And the second would be digital security. How secure is your platform? How secure is the payment mechanism? How secure is this customer wanting to leave their credentials on file? Because when you have credentials on file, you just have access to so much more data on that customer. But if your website and your platform is not protected and encrypted, and it's not leveraging biometrics, or it's not leveraging different systems that BigCommerce, for example, has made available, I, as a consumer, will be very wary on leaving my credentials, of even putting in my credit card information, because I'm unsure of what's going to happen. And we know that, unfortunately, today, fraud is still very high in Latin America. And so in order to get that trust from the consumer, you need it both at the technical level, from biometrics perspective, from a digital security perspective, but also from how are you rewarding me for my purchase, for my time, for the money spent, because there's so many options. And so what's going to make me choose you? And sometimes a differentiator is the loyalty and the reward system that I get from that merchant.
Yeah, loyalty for sure. We hear clients talk about that all the time, and we've got such great partners that there's companies that only focus on online and e-commerce loyalty, and that's how important it is. And back to your comment about fraud, I think what was really interesting is that it's a global issue, and security, right? A global issue that we're facing across all the different regions, all the different countries. And so extremely top of mind as we build out those experiences or those relationships, because everybody's thinking about it from their own personal information, for sure. So I know we talked a lot about the experience on the site, post-sale experience, building those relationships. I'd love to kind of talk about how to fill the funnel. So you talked a little bit about social, people seeing things on TikTok and wanting to buy. Would love your thoughts on, what are some of the things regarding creating a winning marketing strategy to really bring those ideal clients into the funnel?
Oh, I love this question. And this is why. Because many times, and I've worked on the retail side, on the digital e-commerce retail side of things, and when we start thinking about our marketing strategy, it's easy to want to do all of the things and try to offer everything to all of the consumers. And it starts with some of the most basic things, and it's probably why these pieces of advice are often repeated, because many times people want to get to the end, which is just getting the product to the consumer, and they skip all of these very valuable steps. And so for a marketing strategy, the first thing that I've done in advising and when I consult for all of these other retailers is, who exactly are you speaking to? What language? What do they want? Create your customer persona so that you understand and that your marketing is hyper-focused. The second thing is be where your customers are. If one set of your customers is that Gen Z millennial that is on TikTok, that is on Instagram, how are they speaking? How are they engaging? How are they consuming? Make sure that your marketing, your advertising spend is contextual, is native, where they don't feel like it's an ad being served to them, because nobody wants to be told what to buy or how to buy it. They want to be guided, but at the end of the day, they want to feel like they made the decision themselves. And so it's very important to understand exactly who they are and then what their consumer habits are. So if you have a consumer set that's more on the Facebook side, consider how your language is on Facebook. Consider the kind of stories in the advertorials that you're putting. Facebook is very about family and sharing. And I see a lot of brands that succeed on Facebook are the ones that put a video that talks about the importance of family, or that talks about the importance of quality of time. And so those retailers succeed because they marry the importance of your time with, hey, we value it. This is why our shopping experience is so much simpler, and you can just with one click check out and you get your beautiful present at home exactly when you want it. On TikTok, however, people have much less attention span. So if you want to portray something and market to them, you need to get that done in 15 seconds or less, which means that your creative has to be a bit more robust, has to have larger text, has to have really engaging music and sound, because 15 seconds is not a long time to tell the consumer, hey, this is why you need to have mine, right? Because we are in this swipe era where it's like, if you don't fit what I need, what I want right now, I'm just going to keep going. And so that's one key component. The second is omnichannel. Not everyone is always shopping online, although mobile penetration has tripled in the last 2 years, and the pandemic absolutely accelerated that. And omnichannel means be everywhere where your consumer is as well. Consider your television advertisement. Consider, in some markets in Latin America, newspapers are still widely read. Magazines are still widely read. And I'm noticing that a lot of organizations, companies, and brands, their advertising spend in the Latin American market is actually their smallest bucket, which is interesting when you consider the amount of spend that's coming out of Latin America is 5 times the size of what's being spent in advertising. So I would encourage even incrementing that by 10% will help you attract a wider audience. Consider being part of the airline magazines of people that are flying to and across all of these markets. If they're seeing your product there, they're going to be like, wow, this person or this brand cares to show me this, and they'd be a lot more interested in making that purchase. So it's about contextual, being where they are, knowing who they are, and omnichannel, diversifying exactly how you're communicating and where you're communicating them to create a really good strategy so that you're showcasing your products in a meaningful and robust way.
Following up on your comment about, speaking about to the consumers about we value your time, and really speaking more about your values as a brand, what other suggestions do you have regarding making that connection regarding who you are as a brand earlier in the funnel as well?
That's such a good question, and it's very important, and thank you for highlighting that. So consumers today are very discerning, meaning they would rather spend their dollars with a company that's conscious, eco-conscious, green conscious. That's no longer a trend. It is, as much as Latin America is no longer a nice to have, it is a must have. So is being conscious to the environment. What kind of cause are you supporting? What do you stand for? Today's consumer is not only are their expectations here in terms of the ease of use of your platform, the ease of use of being able to purchase, but also want to know what you're about. Does it align with who I am as a person, right? Right now, we're in an era where individuality is being celebrated, where we celebrate anyone and everyone for being who they are, and we want to encourage that that also means that I'm going to be a lot more conscious of where I'm spending my money. I want to make sure that the products are being ethically sourced, or I want to make sure that there's a portion of my proceeds that are going to be donated to charity. So I would suggest that when you're looking to enter Latin America, consider the markets that you're in and consider at the baseline understanding the national holidays, understanding what's going on in the socioeconomic, and see how you can support and celebrate that in order to not only win the trust of your consumers, but to do something good. Because when you do good by doing well, that only helps. Actually, I think I saw a study that said companies that are very mission driven or that put the purpose at the forefront see a 30% increase in their sales, because consumers really want to be able to support those that are doing something well for societies.
When we talk about our, I think you're spot on regarding being able to really show who you are and be able to stand out, right? Because your values as a business, right? Which causes you're supporting, what you're dedicated to, like, more eco-friendly packaging, where you're sourcing from, equal pay, like, those are the types of things that consumers are looking for. I know I'd rather spend extra money with a company that I know is doing good in the world and is promoting that versus a company that I'm not quite sure about. And so it's very attractive regarding being able to understand what does that company stand for, because I'm buying from that company and supporting that company, which means I'm backing it, right? I'm backing who they are. And so it's really interesting. And it goes across all verticals regarding if you're clothing or back to the plants or home goods or sneakers, it's all verticals.
Yes, I would say that there isn't a vertical that doesn't have the opportunity to speak more about who they are and what they're about. People connect more. Purchase decisions are actually about 80% emotional. Because you're going to want to connect with them in some way, especially across Latin America. Latin Americans are very passionate, emotional beings. And so if you can get them at the heartstrings, if you connect family, if you can connect values in terms of your marketing message when it comes to your products, you're going to have a winning recipe when it comes to those consumers wanting to make a purchase on your site.
Well, Vanessa, thanks, for all the advice so far. We are talking a lot regarding online as definitely right one of the ways to sell and reach out to different types of target audiences. Of course, individuals have their own storefronts and their physical locations. Would love to hear some of your suggestions on other channels, other ways that these businesses can get in front of their key target audiences.
Sure. So I know I touched upon omnichannel, and I kind of want to demystify that a bit. It essentially is creating a brand extension and experience across multiple online channels. So, for example, my recommendation would be definitely, if you want to sell online, it starts with the basic of a website. And then also consider, do you need to have an app? Not all brands need to have an app, but that is also always a must have or a nice to have. There's social media, there's email, there's SMS, there's WhatsApp. For example, in Brazil and Mexico, WhatsApp are the top two markets. And so is there a way that you can partner or embed links that are easy to shop from, that consumers can kind of share and say, Mira, look what I found, you can buy it. And so the prominence of leveraging all of these existing platforms and being able to ensure that your consumers can purchase on any of them is what omnichannel strategy, a winning omnichannel strategy looks like, is being where your consumers are. So again, if your consumer is predominantly on Facebook, how do you serve up contextual ads or native advertising so that they can feel like they can purchase directly from that? So that means you need to have as well a robust website. But again, that is amazingly powered by BigCommerce. And it also reminds me of the announcement between BigCommerce and Mercado Libre, because one thing in Latin America is being able to want to access all of these amazing products. And with Mercado Libre essentially being the Latin American challenger to Amazon, they're now bringing this new diversification of products, of being able to bring about all of these different product segments that weren't readily available before. And so now you have this huge opportunity to attract so much more of a bigger audience, because you are now bringing much more product segments, product types. I go back to the plants and the sneakers because those are two huge segments in the retail industry that I see growing in Mexico and in Brazil, for example, especially during quarantine. Obviously, home goods and redesigning your home grew by over 300%. And so Mercado Libre and with BigCommerce announcing their partnership, it will now allow anyone in these 5, 6, 7 key segments to be able to access all of these things, not just from one or two retailers, but from thousands that are part of the network that these two great companies have built together. So to close off on the point of omni-channel, it means being where your customers are. So if they're on WhatsApp, try to find an experience that connects, that embeds. So perhaps it can be as your customer service bot can be very WhatsApp enabled, or the chatbot if they love SMS, right? Making sure that all of the different plugins and outputs within your experience online is contextual, meaning that it's native, meaning that if I am used to texting my friends, I actually prefer, me as a consumer, texting customer service or something. I cannot stand using the phone. And that also goes with a lot of Latin American markets. Yes, they have their mobile phones. So if they can do everything within their mobile device, that is going to be a huge winner, which also means that your mobile web version needs to be friendly because not everyone will be at a desktop. So it's beautiful to create a website, but you want to make sure that you design it and create it for mobile so that your consumers can also be there wherever they can shop, wherever they go.
Well, would love, we talked a lot about business and, growing businesses, how to grow business in Latin America. I'd like to turn a little bit to your work in the community and what you've been doing with working with women in technology and e-commerce, really to promote that entrepreneurship, that diversity and inclusion. So can you please tell us a little bit more about, your current work, your experience, and share with us a bit with what you're doing there?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you so much. And so my life's work has always been to support and promote entrepreneurship, especially among Latinos and Latinas. Being Latina myself and being in environments where I felt like the situations weren't created for me and I had to create my own opportunities. I also recognize the value in entrepreneurship and being your own boss, and also the value of being able to extend what you offer and what you can sell across different borders. And so I have a very, very big soft spot when it comes to helping female entrepreneurs, which is why I launched my coaching and consultant business. And how do I help position these women to launch businesses that are not just passion projects, that are going to be profitable, that are going to be scalable, and through practices that I've learned across my 16 years in corporate America. And so it's been very fulfilling to be able to see somebody go from the point of ideation, of I have an idea, to being able to position them to get funding, to be able to scale, or to be able to create recommendations where, most times when you have an idea to sell, you think sometimes really small. And then when you have giants like a BigCommerce and you recognize, oh my God, this idea of mine through partnership with this kind of platform can sell my product all over the world, that's a game changer for your business. And so I love being able to be that catalyst for women entrepreneurs who are eager to sell their designs or sell their products, goods, or services across the world, because there is a lot of opportunity and there's also a lot of money to be made, and I love helping them do so.
Would love to hear some of your tips for female founders, female entrepreneurs, Latinas around the world, regarding, how do they excel and how do they continue to grow professionally?
I would say, one, it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do everything alone. I've learned this as well as being now two-time entrepreneur. One of my businesses was acquired and I sold it. And that was due to my own stubbornness, right? I thought I could do it all. I could be the coder, I could be the developer, I could be the product lead, I could be the sales and the marketing. And I was very bullheaded about thinking that I needed to do it all alone, as opposed to looking across and seeing what other partners, what other platforms or technologies I can leverage to help boost my business. And I think sometimes we're wary of these certain partnerships because we're afraid of giving up a percentage or an equity of something. But I really do think that there's power in being able to ask for help, and there's also power in collaboration. So one of my key advices would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. Go to a mentor, go to a business coach, or go to different platforms that have that know-how and the knowledge and that robust ecosystem built out for you to allow you to scale. And then the second thing is just, it's like with anything in life, there's ebbs and flows. There's going to be good and there's going to be bad. And a lot of times, as an entrepreneur and as a woman in the entrepreneur world, we often don't feel like this entrepreneurship landscape was created with us in mind. In fact, it was not. But gives you more opportunity to create change. That gives you more opportunity to help open up the doors for others, and also gives you more opportunity to stand apart. Right now is the perfect time for female entrepreneurs who want to launch a business. There are tons of resources and opportunities in VC companies, funding companies, platforms that are looking to want to propel the next generation of entrepreneurs. And so I would say, when the going gets tough, just keep pushing, because you have it within you. If you have that little nagging voice that says, I could be doing this, just keep going. We all have bad days. It doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing.
One last question just regarding, we've been talking a lot about, giving advice to businesses in general. And so, I'd love, some advice from you regarding how, these businesses that we've been, discussing, how can they really, just really promote and think through diversity and inclusion as they grow their own e-commerce business or business in general?
There's been a lot of recent studies that have shown that diverse organizations have a net positive revenue of over 36%. I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. Diversity today just means giving you the opportunity to position your organization to have a wealth of inputs from various people. This will only help your organization be so much more successful, because you're getting input and knowledge and experience from people that come from all over the world, especially when it comes to women in executive positions. That same study also cited that when women are in executive positions, those organizations are a lot more profitable, because women have a fantastic way of being able to look at opportunities when it comes to problems. And so diversity is not a nice to have. Diversity is a must, and doing the right thing. This universe is full of diverse, incredible human beings that have so many gifts and talents. And if any organization wants to succeed, especially in the online medium, it is so important that if you want to sell around the world, your company reflects that, who you're trying to sell to. So if you have a product that wants to sell to the Latin American audience, you really should have Latin Americans in your board of directors and leadership positions, in your social media, writing the copy, because that really does say a lot to the consumer. And it's also very aware. Today's consumer is quite savvy. And so it's very easy to tell when a merchant or a brand is not being transparent about their social equality and their diversity and their gender agenda. So it's no longer a nice to have. It is a necessary must-have if you want to succeed in today's socioeconomic climate.
Well, thanks so much for all of your insights and advice, and just so much just recommendations on how really to reach different Latin American consumers, and really how to grow your business. So thank you for all of that. I think our audience has a lot to walk away with on that. So really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I think if there's a few nuggets that I can leave everyone with regarding selling and growing in Latin America, is to think of yourself and put yourself in the consumer's shoes. How would you like to be treated? How would you like to be spoken to? In which ways have you shopped before? And extend that knowledge and those feelings to your consumer. They want to be able to shop from anywhere in the world, and they want to be able to access your amazing products, but they also want to do that in a way that is not cumbersome, that is simple and easy, and that feels like you recognize who I am, and vice versa. And so that's how you create that loyalty, that stickiness that brands are looking for today. And that's going to help you win in this incredible market. And at the end of the day, Latin America market is booming. So there's opportunity for everyone. So if you're not in Latin America, why wait? Go now.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were talking about regarding being authentic and expressing who you are as a company and your values, and really highlighting, right, valuing different points of views, valuing different experiences, and having that be part of your company's success and growth, right? And so I think that's a great tie-in, as another great strategy and lever for how to grow your business, is really having those diverse points of views and those individuals to really help take your company to the next level.
Absolutely. Competition is everywhere, right? You're not going to be the first to sell sneakers, plants, clothing, makeup, but you are going to be the first doing it your way because there is the only you. It's the same thing with the brand, which is why at the core of everything is the brand ethos, is the brand heart. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Who are you selling to? What do you stand for? And that's really going to be communicated across all of your channels, whether it's online, whether it's through app, email, and the consumer is going to feel that. And that's what's going to create that connection for them to want to support you, your brand, and the different extensions of your brand.
Thanks again, Vanessa, for all of your advice and your recommendations. Everyone who is listening to this conversation is walking away with ideas and thoughts on how to not only grow their business, but really to be authentic and just diverse and really be able to stand out from the crowd. So really appreciate your time. And I'm sure anyone listening is very interested in how to connect with you. So where can everybody find you to be able to get additional tips?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm very glad that the conversation began with, quantitative and it ended up with, authenticity and transparency, because I think those are one of my core values and it's going to help many retailers succeed. You can find me on my website at www.vsantos.co. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. I love sharing short bits regarding successes in e-commerce and how to help and support small businesses. On TikTok, I am at Startup with Vanessa. And on Instagram, I am at Vanessa Santos Fine. And Fine is Fein.
Thank you again. I hope everybody's able to connect with you on those different channels. And I just want to thank everyone again for tuning in and listening, and hope that you're able to check out additional events through our BigCommerce virtual conference. Make it big, and please join the different conversations on social, and please tag us at BigCommerce. We'd really appreciate it. Good luck selling, everybody, and good luck growing your business. We look forward to hearing about your successes. Thank you.